.737 in Trinidad and Tobago. Well, Secure Shred, it's a local company that specializes in environmental and security services. They are here along with some special guests to launch the Sigalock Spartan fire hydrant in Trinidad and Tobago. And some will say Trinidad and Tobago is a place that is always on fire in one way or the other. Figuratively, if not literally. But to give us more information about this launch, we're joined by three personalities. Most appropriately, we have with us Stephen Harris from Secure Shred. He's the gentleman at the very end. In the middle, we have Joe Kelly of Sigalock from Long Island in New York, and the inventor of the fire hydrant, which we're going to look at in a short while. George Sigalock is former firefighter from Long Island in New York. And indeed, interestingly, I suppose it's a story for an entire segment by itself, that he had retired from the fire service just before the 9/11 tragedy. So we don't have time, unfortunately, to go into all of those details, but that would be a wonderful story in itself. Gentlemen, thanks very much for joining us. Before we hear about the fire hydrant itself, Stephen Harris, tell us. We're going to look at the product very shortly. Yes. What is it all? What's so special about this fire hydrant? Apart from dogs urinating on it, of course. But go ahead.
Good morning. So, well, Secure Shred, we look at environmentally related products, beneficial products. We are a green company, as they say. And a few years ago, I was doing some research and I came across a fire hydrant that's environmentally friendly in that it helps save water, prevent theft of water, and it also helps save lives by being tamper-proof, meaning that when firemen go to a fire scene, they are more likely to be able to get water to save the public and to protect themselves. So I actually wrote Sigalock, the company, and I said, would you be interested in being in the Caribbean? And they had just barely started rolling out in the US. So they were interested. They said the climate suits our products, benefits, and well, I guess the rest is history.
So the product is available in Trinidad and Tobago now. Has it been? Now we're having a look at it. It is the standard size of a fire hydrant. It will look like something that just arrived from Saturn or Jupiter or something like that. 21st Take me to your leader or something like that. But is it available in Trinidad and Tobago right now?
This is the official launch of the hydrant being here. We actually been going through the process of getting approved for local use for the last 18 months. And we finally got our approval last month. So we are approved for local use, and we will be available for sale from now going forward.
And before we hear from the inventor himself, Mr. Kelly, tell us about what makes this fire hydrant so different from your standard fire hydrant.
Well, the first thing, Vizier, is that it's self-contained, it's vandal-proof, so people that aren't authorized to open and exercise a hydrant aren't allowed in it.
You sure about that? Because we Trinis tend to find ways around many different things,
right.
You know.
Well, it's taken 20 years. George is a retired New York City firefighter, as you said, and there's been a lot of research and development that goes into this product. And we've had UL Laboratories in the U.S. that had a safe cracking team try to get into this hydrant, and they couldn't do it. So they've actually given us a new certification as almost like a safe in the street. So it keeps people out that do a lot of damage to the parts, the fittings, the water mains, because there's a lot of pressure coming in from that main into the hydrant. If you don't know how to shut it down properly, you can have water hammer and all kinds of different issues with the hydrant. So, you know, it's aesthetically more appealing to people because it doesn't have protruding parts and it's powder coated so it doesn't rust and corrode. But internally, it's a much more reliable, safer product because you keep people out that aren't trained on how to use it.
Mr. Sigalock, what in the course of your firefighting duties made you feel that there was something that had to be done to come up with something different from your standard fire hydrant?
Well, early in my career, I learned real quickly the unreliability of a fire hydrant because the exposure, you know, it's the vulnerabilities, everything's accessible to anybody. So there's a lot of, on the top part, the external part where we see as firefighters, everything is anybody can tamper with and grab or damage without knowingly even trying to do so, and anybody can use it, and that's a big problem. I learned that, you know, from the people in the water department down below, there's where the real issues lie, with the leaking, the freezing, the water hammer inside the system, the corrosion, because a fire hydrant is made of steel and iron in a water environment. And that's a recipe for disaster in itself, because it's exposed to the moisture and everything else. So they tend to, if you don't use them a lot, they rust up and seize. And if you use them too much, they break down, because it's 100-year-old technology they've been using. And it's a part business for the manufacturers. The end users, the water department people, they know all the issues in a hydrant. And that's where I learned how to make the better hydrant. I said, listen, for years we've been saying these are the problems. What they do, though, is they give them the same parts to repeat the same process over and over. So it's a big business for them, and it's not a motivation to change and make a better hydrant. They make a lot of money selling parts to the hydrant.
Where did you find the time to come up with this idea and put things together when you're busy fighting fires all the time?
You know, for some reason, everybody in their life has a talent, a gift, no matter who they are. And my special gift, I've always been in tune with nature, and everything that's been created and invented in the world is from nature. And so when I saw this hydrant, I realized what the issues were, and I just have an engineering mind without being an engineer.
That's fantastic. We just have a few seconds there, but let me ask you, Mr. Harris, because not everyone walks out and goes to the nearest department store and says, I'd like to get 2 fire hydrants, please. Clearly, this has to be something that attracts the attention of the government authorities.
Yes.
Are you making any headway in that direction? Is it something that is likely to be approved?
Well, as I said, the first step really is getting approved for use, which we've crossed that hurdle. It was a big hurdle. We actually leave from here today, and we're going to meet with the Water Authority, WASA. So we have a meeting about the hydrant to introduce it to them formally and really show them the benefits, the cost benefits in particular. And after that, we also will be meeting and showing the hydrant to developers, because developers also have to put hydrants in when they do their developments. And then from here, we also have the rest of the Caribbean to look at, because we're the regional distributors.
And Mr. Kelly, just very quickly, if people want to get more information on the product, what is the online information?
www.sigelock.com.
And that's Sigelock. And a quick word, Mr.
Yeah, I'd just like to say what we've done, because I probably didn't explain exactly what makes us different. We simplified the hydrant. We took a lot of parts out of the hydrant that didn't need to be there. And by better material and better design, we created a tri-arm valve, which keeps it very stable inside. The old hydrant has a butterfly valve, so when you open hydrants, they shake and vibrate. And a hydrant is a mechanical mechanism. It's like driving down the road with your car with your lugs of your tires not tight, and it's going to fall off because of the stresses and forces. And then the materials inside we use, instead of rubber and leather, that, you know, it's like the old water faucets. They drip and leak because the rubber gets imprinted, it dries out. And what we do now, the modern day faucets, they don't leak in them. You change them because of the look that you want, a new design. But I've had my faucet 16 years now, and it doesn't leak or drip. It never has, because they use nylons and special materials. And we have this even better material called Delrin, which we use for our valve seals, which seal up, and they have
Time has run out on this. So you can get all the information on the website. And removing surplus parts, that sounds like something we could do with our politics as well. A lot of our politicians, we could do without them. Maybe we could get Sigelock to do something about that for us as well. Coming up to 7:46 in Trinidad and Tobago. We'll be back right after this with the final interview segment.